Diljit Dosanjh, Coldplay, Dua Lipa, Bryan Adams, they're all headed to India in the coming weeks. While fans are excited, getting tickets to these concerts is getting tougher. How are tickets selling out within minutes of going online? Who's buying these tickets in bulk and how are they being resold at inflated prices? Find out in part 3 of Operation Concert.
The hype around Diljit Dosanjh's Dil-Luminati Tour is getting bigger. So is the hunt for concert tickets. Ticket scalping is surging. The event tickets, high in demand, seem to have been bought in bulk and are being resold at inflated price to make profit at the cost of the public. And it's the ticketing platforms that are raking in the big bucks. Like this foreign ticketing website Viagogo. Here, Diljit concert tickets are being resold at 10 times the original price. Viagogo operates as a secondary ticket marketplace, a platform where individuals can resell their tickets. But here's the catch. Ticket prices fluctuate based on demand and supply. When demand is high and tickets are limited, the prices can surge outrageously. Viagogo facilitates this resale, allowing sellers to profit off desperate buyers willing to pay a premium. Viagogo charges sellers a hefty commission and slaps additional fees on buyers, pushing ticket prices even higher. Not only are these tickets sold at exorbitant rates, but Indian authorities are also in the dark about both sellers and buyers. Most of these ticketing platforms operate overseas, making it nearly impossible for Indian agencies to track.
It is, number one, controlled by the terms of issuing of tickets. These terms or the contracts typically will not allow anybody else to resell or transfer those tickets, even at the same price. If someone is not able to go, they will have to refund those tickets to the original seller. More so a website operating out of India and trying to get those money in foreign currency, they will have to get first of all registered with the FIU in India. And if they are not, then they cannot operate in India to the domestic consumers, because then there is no customer redressal mechanism. And also it may be violating the FEMA, the Foreign Exchange Management Act. So such websites are not doing legal business per se, and those tickets may be deemed invalid and may not allow the buyers to visit those venues. So that is risky.
India Today had emailed a detailed questionnaire to Viagogo on the reselling of Diljit concert tickets in US dollars, especially the potential violation of Indian laws concerning foreign exchange. But despite 3 reminders over a period of 10 days, Viagogo representatives only gave assurances that they would get back to us. We are still awaiting their detailed reply. Meanwhile, fans are not just paying more, but there is no guarantee of if or when they will get the tickets. With Diljit Dosanjh's Delhi concert just weeks away, will authorities take action, or will black marketing continue unchecked? A report by India Today Special Investigation Team's Nitin Jain.
At this time, India is a huge hot destination for international live acts. The markets of Russia and China, which were the other big markets outside Europe and the United States, have shrunk for various reasons. Russia on account of the war, China on account of a collapsing economy. India was seen as the next big hot thing, but there's a lot of negative publicity on account of the number of regulations, the difficulty of doing business, and now these tickets being scalped, consumers getting a bad experience, all that leading to questions about whether India will be able to fulfill its true potential as a destination for live acts. What do we do to try and ensure that you don't get scammed? Remember, I know for a fact that I know people around me, including in my family and friend circle, who've been trying to get tickets. They've been unsuccessful. I was constantly telling people, watch out, you don't know if you buy in black whether you're getting a genuine tickets. Unlike when I was studying abroad, when you could buy tickets legally, even if this was on resale in India, that is not an organized industry. So you're really playing with fire if you try and do this, as that investigation shows. Joining us on this broadcast, I want to welcome first Shailendra Singh, Joint Managing Director of Percept. Shailendra is a man of many parts. He also runs many big events like the Sunburn and many others. So has a good sense of what it takes to bring a big live act together. We have Dilip Cherian, founder Perfect Relations, again someone who's been involved in lots of big acts and therefore has a good sense of how the communications world really functions. Yashovardhan Azad is a former police officer, special director at the Intelligence Bureau, and Gaurav Dua is an advocate. He's the one who filed the case in the Delhi High Court, which is referred to in our investigation. I want to go across to Shailendra Singh first, because in your own company you've done many of these live gigs, maybe not Dosanjh or a Coldplay, but in a lot of live big gigs. Now everyone's trying to get their hands on a Coldplay ticket or a Dosanjh ticket. And the fact is that this has become like a big cottage industry. You've seen and heard this India Today investigation. What do you think the authorities need to do? What do consumers need to do? What do authorities need to do to clamp down on this racket?
Yeah. Rahul, first of all, I'm glad that you're doing this show for the youth of the nation. So congratulations to you and your team for doing this show. I think the most important thing is to categorize these things into black marketing and insider trading. So what happened in the case of Book My Show, when the confession happened by one of the officials with ED, they clearly specified that they actually bought 1.5 lakh tickets themselves. That was a massive confession of insider trading, and that's, a crime being committed. And then there's black marketing, which is, people go online and buy bulk tickets and then they give it to people who need it at a later time for a much larger price. That happens across the world anyways. But I think our country now needs to understand that music tourism, entertainment tourism, these are some serious businesses that need to be organized in a level where these crimes cannot be committed. This is what has just happened. It's just unfortunate for the consumer, and this is not going to work in the long run if this happens. And I've done close to 3,000 events, and some of them have had, like Suresh House Mafia, we had 80,000 people attending the concert, and we had to work really hard to be transparent and create a level of trust with our customers. Now, in the case of Book My Show, I'm really shocked that Ashish Rajani has still not come out there and spoken himself and clarified his position as an organization. So I feel that you need regulation, you need laws, and you need laws that can be executed. You remember, Rahul, in cinema, there was a law of piracy and you could get bail for 250 rupees. So that kind of law won't work here. And this is completely unfair to the fans, to the consumer, and in some places, Rahul, even to the artist. Like in Diljit's case, he's doing his own ticketing. And in Coldplay's case, it's the company involved are themselves, Ticketmaster, Live Nation. In US, they're actually being criminally, questioned right now. And they're the partners of Book My Show. So it's not a great precedent being set that Live Nation and Book My Show both seem to have a DNA that compromises the opportunity for the fans. And at the end of the day, I'm sure Coldplay is also, and Diljit is watching all your show and understanding that finally the artist is going to get the hit. For consumer, obviously, is going to be super depressed, but the artist's brand is going to get hit in the long run. If this carries on, the consumers and fans will disconnect with the artist and say it's not worth it. And also, Rahul, just because of this controversy of Book My Show, Coldplay did about another 6 shows in Abu Dhabi. And we are losing our own fans to another country. So I think India needs to just wake up and understand sports tourism, music tourism. These are serious businesses, and they need to be regulated. And at some point, have laws that people should worry that if they do black marketing or insider trading, I mean, they could go to jail.
So, since you leveled some charges against Book My Show and there's no one from Book My Show here, in the interest of transparency, I want to say that Shailendra is also at some level competing in different spaces, but more importantly, Book My Show is dealing with the enforcement agencies, and we will try and bring them live on the show for their version. So if any official of Book My Show is watching and they want to come live, we're happy to have you live. We're just putting out the facts as they stand at this moment. Now, Dilip Cherian, there are important questions here. One, the fact that companies, organizers could be involved in keeping a part of the tickets themselves so that you can then sell them off to friends and family or whoever puts pressure. And pressure is a very important fact, because unlike in Amsterdam or London or Spain when the shows happened, there is no DCP, ACP, DDA calling and saying, "Tu janta hai main kaun hu, itni tickets." So you've organized so many events, and that's a very, and I was speaking to one of the big executives involved in some of these companies, and they were saying there's a lot of pressure, and that pressure is, I'm sure it's present everywhere, but do you think it's higher in India than it is elsewhere, and how do we deal with this then?
Well asked, Rahul. It is much higher in India, and this whole myth about we need to be a kind of location where these things happen cannot happen, unfortunately. I've dealt with multiple events, many stars, all attempting to get into India, but what actually eventually stops them is the fact that you run into a whole gamut of regulations, regulators, and scalpers. So it's not just about scalpers. It's not just about, the organizations that are selling the tickets. I think globally, we've had a rash of these problems some years ago. I think the examples are very clear. The European Union has put in some very transparent regulations, and I think we need to look at those. We certainly don't want a knee-jerk reaction because of one lawsuit or two concerts. We want some people who understand this trade to actually do this. Book My Show has given their version of it in multiple places, but let's go beyond that. I think what we are talking about here is that the stars themselves, the performers themselves, also need to get organized. One way out of this would be for fans to actually be registered on a fan page, so that if you're actually transferring tickets, you know that it's going from fan to fan and not via some middle person. Why is India not a great venue, and why is India's image being rocked badly by these rock stars? The fact is that most people who want to watch a concert would rather go to Abu Dhabi or to Bangkok because it is cheaper, simpler, less bandobast, and you are sure that you'll have a great experience.
No, but I'm not sure, Dilip, because let's assume somebody gets a bona fide ticket in India. A lot of my friends are traveling to Abu Dhabi because they didn't get tickets in India. If you get tickets in Mumbai or Delhi, I mean, it's much cheaper to do it here. It's more fun because you'll be with more friends. You only go because you go to an Abu Dhabi or a Singapore or Hong Kong because you aren't getting the tickets to watch the concert back home.
And the reason you're not getting it is because of the fact that there is a kind of explosive mixture of regulations on one kind, tax people on the other kind, people who are actually shaking down the ticket companies for free tickets, and sometimes very frivolous kind of court cases. So between all of this, it becomes a nightmare for organizers to get this going and to actually make sure that fans have the kind of experience they have without the excruciating agony of
I agree. Yashovardhan Azad. Now there are two aspects here. One, of course, there could be a genuine crime that is committed which needs to be investigated. If people, insiders in these companies are involved, that needs to be looked at very carefully. B is the aspect of scalping, black marketing, that needs to be looked at. And C is the aspect of a lot of police officers, and with no disrespect to you or any one person, but the fact is that they call and say, "Hamari itni kara do, hamari family aa rahi hai, hamare dost aa rahe," and that puts a lot of pressure on the organizers. And if you speak to the organizers, they say, if we don't comply, then the cops shut us down, create trouble, find some law, and there's so many regulations in India, all of which compounds to making India an unviable, unattractive destination for these live concerts at a time when this space is really opening up for India.
Well, India is a very, very unpopular destination, not because only of the police,
Sure.
but because the entire gamut of, the officers here who make various demands. And let me tell you, I've been associated with many, many, events like this, whether in Bhopal or whether in other places. And the maximum demands were coming from the people who could actually make a difference, whether it was the income tax, whether it was the customs, whether it was the, revenue officials, whether it was, the politicians, etc., etc. But that apart, there are also various other things. You remember that concert in Brazil, Rio, where about almost 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs people came and nothing happened, excellent arrangements and everything was okay. Here we have seen the problems, but what is the solution? Solution is that, many of these bots are being used. I mean, I'm talking from a cop side. Many of these bots which are used to buy tickets in bulk, and then they are going on sale again.
No, but how does that work? Have you cracked how this works? Because I know that there were claims that lots of these tech companies were able to, rig up the website in a way that they got advance access to the websites and therefore they were able to jump the queue and get their hands on their tickets?
Yes, exactly. So they were able to manipulate the system. You introduce a kind of a software, and that is why you have this capture system and things like that to stop it also. The most important thing is that whenever an event like this takes place, and suppose you are doing it in Delhi, the first thing is that the sponsors or whoever is doing it should get into touch with the local police or the authorities who give the permission. And after that, there should be a cyber team which should be attached to this. There is a method to this which can be enforced and you can refresh. But the other thing what I'm telling Rahul is that many of the things you cannot stop. For people who have been buying tickets and then reselling it, you can do nothing about it. So we have to look at the main aspects.
No, but should that be legalized in your view? So many of these websites internationally allow you to buy tickets legally. You've tried, and I saw this during the World Cup. We had tickets which we paid 35,000 rupees for, and somebody came up and said 6 lakh rupees le lo, meko ye ticket de do. And that wasn't a bad option. I mean, obviously we said no, but there'll be plenty of people who'll say, okay, if you're willing to pay 6 lakh rupees for tickets for which I paid 35,000 rupees, I mean, go for it. So is that just human greed? Can we regulate it like lottery? Should we possibly create now a framework where this is legal?
Well, I think it's going to be difficult because, even the World Cup, if you buy a ticket worth 5 rupees for, 50,000, I mean, that's a little unfair. It's against consumer protection. It's against, market regulation. It's against all norms of, society and human values that only the rich people can then see and actual fans will not be able to see it. So, there has to be a regulation. So authorized agencies, crime squads at work, absolute good system. But Rahul, once again, Dilip was saying something and I want to add to that. India is also unpopular because of a lot of other things, because many of the things which are happening here at the criminal level are also happening all over the world. And yet they are favored destinations because it's more comfortable, it's more organized. India is mostly associated with disorder of all kinds and noise and issues from parking to almost everything. And that is the most important reason why people don't want to come here. Even I never want to go to any of these events and never been there even when I was a youngster.
So आपको सुन के तो कोई जाएगा ही नहीं. आप तो business कोई धंधा को चौपट कर दोगे. It's not a good thing necessarily. I thought we were here to find solutions. Now here's the point, and I want to go across to Gaurav Dua, who filed this case in the Delhi High Court. What's your case? Where does it stand? What are you hoping to achieve?
Okay, so the reason we filed the case was that the issue of ticket scalping is prevalent in India, as we've seen because of recent concerts and events like IPL taking place in India. So what we wanted was there should be a mechanism or system in place to prevent this thing from happening, where people buy these tickets and resell them at a higher price without having any upper cap or limit to it. Now see, as my predecessor speaker said, that it prevents genuine fans from attending such events. Now when I filed the PAL, one of the prayers that I sought is that there should be a regulatory framework where the concept of ticket scalping should be brought within the purview of legislature. Now, in terms of solution that what we are discussing here, it could be as simple as asking the buyer to deposit an additional amount over and above the ticket, which gets refunded through geotagging as and when the person attends that event. The other would be like where we have Book My Show and Zomato. What they've done is whenever I'm purchasing a ticket, see if I'm purchasing a ticket, I can go and say Gaurav plus 19. I do not have to fill in the details of the 19 plus people that I'm buying the ticket for, which gives rise to the problem of ticket scalping. So had there been a system where I'm supposed to fill in the details, the individual names, or maybe some form of verification such as Aadhaar card number, then this problem can be prevented to an extent. Now the court was very pleased that we understood the problem that ticket scalping is depriving the Indian economy of its share, as the taxes are not being paid because of this unregulated practice, which is why a notice has been issued and they sought a response from the central government on this issue. The other countries, I'd say, have taken an actual step towards it, but since India always has a knee-jerk reaction, which is why I think there was a need to file this PIL.
Shailendra Singh, do we have enough regulation or is there lack of regulation? If the government gets too deeply involved, that's also a problem. So you want light touch regulation, you don't want heavy regulation, which then complicates the industry even further.
Rahul, first of all, I just want to clarify one thing. That we all need to understand that we have, 60% of our population is youth of this country. That's our biggest asset. Youth should be not deprived of live entertainment. Just to take on from Dilip Sunburn, I created from 2007, is the third largest music festival on the planet. You should be super proud that India created an intellectual property of such power and interest. It could have been a unicorn today, but yes, due to issues like this of permissions, you must know, Dilip, for sure that, and Rahul, that if for an event, a typical event of 30, 40,000 people, even 10,000 people, you need 160 permissions. And 60 of them come
permissions?
Yeah, 160 and 60 come after the event. So Rahul, it's a बहुत विचित्र और interesting देश है और इस crisis में opportunity भी है. लेकिन कहीं ना कहीं, just to clarify, cricket works pretty well because there is a BCCI. It's controlled. Cricket has infrastructure. It's got stadiums. We cannot run away from the fact that now all the international artists are coming to India. So we need to form the systems. I mean, it's unfair. And Rahul, just to clarify, I'm not against Book My Show. I mean, Sunburn is represented by Book My Show now. They run our business and they sell our tickets. So I'm for them. But what I'm against is black marketing or insider trading. And that takes away the right from the fan. In Sunburn, I fought hard to ensure in all the 3,000-4,000 events I've done, you don't have an incident to do the news. The only incidents that you always had is that we never get permission to go because there is no one window clearance. I have to fight and beg and borrow permissions to do live entertainment. I'm sitting on your channel today with 4,000 events behind my belt for Sunburn. I'm not in jail. I haven't committed a single crime. I'm still here. So I feel India is a phenomenal country to host musical, cultural, sports events. I mean, South Africa, small country, hosts about 5 World Cups in a year. We get panicky with Commonwealth Games. I think we need to sort this out. We don't need to run away from it. And like the other gentleman said, that India is not the place, you must go abroad and it's much better there. We are a land of chaos. Unfair to say that, especially when our Prime Minister is trying to present a fantastic global image for our country. And last but not least, Rahul, this has to be regulated. There is no way out.
Who should regulate? How should it be regulated and who should regulate?
Yeah, so my answer is BCCI. You and me have discussed 1,000 times. Is BCCI an independent body or is BCCI regulated by the government of India? BCCI does what it wants. It builds stadiums, builds infrastructure, has its ticketing. Why not create a BCCI or kind of a setup for all live entertainment? And make it easy, make it happen. We are the United States of India. 1 hour flight, different musicians, classical, rock, Sufi, pop. My God, we haven't even started this game yet.
Diljit Cherian is shaking his head vehemently in disagreement. You don't think BCCI for entertainment is a good idea?
I think we need to look at it realistically. The US got their Bots Act only as recently as 2016, which prohibits the buying of tickets in bulk by bots. So these are early days here. And, even in the UK, which has had a long history of massive acts, it's only 2018 that they got their regulation in place. And we still haven't had, any of our finance ministry guys jump into the act. I would say the best thing is to set up a regulatory body which looks at it, which consists of people like Shailendra, like others who are in the business, who understand what to do. I mean, put the head of Book My Show there, the guy who runs Zomato ticketing business. Make sure it's people who understand, and then have 3 or 4 cyber people. And if you do this with the sense of involving the future of India, the young, the kind of cultural acts that India is capable of, then you have a solution. Otherwise, you'll just be running around in circles.
Yashovardhan Azad, we're discussing the problem. What, according to you, is the solution? Do you think it's time to have a formal regulator like a BCCI of sorts for entertainment?
Well, let me tell you, the cricket is popular and bringing in crowds not because of BCCI. It is despite the BCCI. BCCI is one of the most disorganized run organization, and there is tremendous corruption in every, like the DDCA is less worth talking about. And let me tell you, we cannot solve this problem by raising the flag of nationalism. Yes, India is about disorder, but it can be set right. And that is why, in this particular case, yes, I agree, there should be one regulatory body. We don't need 165 permissions. But I can also tell you one thing, Mr. Shailendra, that everyone is not like... I have seen 70% of the organization cutting corners, and whether it's from the fire safety, whether it's from other safety regulations, they are always cutting corners. And that is why, that is where the bureaucracy, puts pressure, makes money. This is the problem that we have. In India, genetically, we are not, organized to do things in a nice way. The bots problem, Rahul, is a huge problem. It can be sorted out. So, number one regulatory body. Number two, attack the bot system viciously. It can be done.
So who's supposed to do it? The cops will do it, or the website, whether it's a Zomato or a Book My Show where it is sold, or an insider where it is sold, those people have to do it, or the cops will do it?
No, you see, the farmers, but the ticket sellers are concerned. The ticket sellers will also introduce the regulatory system, the safety systems, like the capture system, and they'll be watched by the cyber squads of the police. It's a very simple thing, can be done. They should also be in link with the banks, see that there's how much of bulk money which is going in, that can also be tracked. So if you really look at it properly, it can be done. The only thing is, to Mr. Shailendra, again, I'll say that wherever you have a capacity for 500 people, don't put 50,000. And let me tell you another thing. BCCI has done nothing for the consumers, for the customers' convenience in the stadium. They go like cattle, and there is nothing clean, including the toilets.
Okay. Clearly, Yashovardhan Azad, not much of a fan of live acts. But Gaurav Dua, what's the next step? We've discussed the problem. We looked at what you're doing. What do you think? Because we shouldn't be back next year discussing the same thing. It's much better for Coldplay to do a few more concerts in Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, rather than wanting to do them in Singapore, Hong Kong, or Abu Dhabi.
Right. So, see, the legislation is going to take some time to come into picture. However, what we've requested for now is some issuance of guidelines to prevent such activities from happening again. See, moreover, from October onwards in India, the season for such events starts, I'd say, because of the festivities involved and also because of the season. Which is why there are going to be a lot of events which are going to take place from this quarter onwards. And which is why what is needed right now is quick response from the government and framing of guidelines. Since, as my speaker was saying, there was a case by the name of Satya Prakash versus BCCI, wherein a similar issue of ticket scalping was raised, and where it was asked before the High Court of Madras that appropriate directions should be issued. There, no concrete directions were issued, and it was merely said that the such petition should be treated as a representation by the BCCI. Now, this happened in March of 2024, and yet no update has happened as of now. No progress has been made, which is why the problem still persists. Now, there are states which have already passed regulations which govern or prohibit reselling of tickets, be it Rajasthan Entertainment and Advertisements Act in 1957, or be it UP Entertainment and Betting Tax Act 1979. So as of now, what the government or the Honorable Court can do is frame guidelines inspired or based on these legislation which have already been passed. Till the meantime, the work for legislation continues.
Okay. I think we've discussed the problem. We've discussed some potential solutions. I want to thank all our guests.
Rahul, just one small point, Rahul.
Have you
just
got tickets for the Coldplay concert or not?
Rahul, this is a small point to be mentioned for the fans' sake, because a lot of fans worked hard, stayed up till midnight to buy a ticket. And when they get the ticket in their hand, they suddenly realize that they're sitting on a gold mine. It's worth 3 lakhs. So is it okay to black market a ticket on Facebook? Does the law permit it? A lot of young people ask me that, maybe I don't want to see Coldplay because I can ensure that I make enough money for the whole year to live.
No, but that's not okay. Life. Under Section 112 of the new Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita,
I want you to say that to the fans,
of 2023, we've run that detail as well. You can't, whoever being a member of a gang or a group, either singly or jointly commits any act of theft, snatching, unauthorized selling of tickets, unauthorized betting, gambling, or any other similar act is said to commit an organized crime. So, that's illegal.
There you go.
Get into serious amounts of trouble.
Thanks for doing that, Rahul, for the fans.
You can get into serious amounts of trouble, and I know that there is a bit of greed involved, but then there are genuine cases. I mean, maybe you need to go out of town to travel, maybe something's happened which dispossesses you and you can't then go for the concert. So this has to be thought through. Everybody is not a criminal.
I'm going to do an event quickly and just bring my co-panelists for the event, just to create an experience for them.
Who'll perform live for us? Are you getting Coldplay?
Coldplay looks like an impossibility, but I'm an Indian artist for sure, because I want to bring out the momentum to believe that this is possible and it should happen in India. India is a beautiful country.
It should happen, and Dilip, hopefully in a way that Mr. Azad also feels it's worth for him to go for it. He just seems very bitter about these live experiences. Dilip?
We'll all be there for Shailendra's event. We're just waiting for him to actually
I'm getting Mr. Azad right on stage.
Rocking started.
Okay, so I want to thank all our guests for joining us.
Thank you.
And if you're lucky, you got a ticket. And if you're still hunting, be very careful. Don't just blow up your money in the hope that what you're being promised is actually going to work out.